Is it clear to you when to use I do and when to use I'm doing when you talk about present events? Are you aware that these two tenses, I do and I'm doing, can also be used to speak about future events and even past events? Hello and welcome everyone, this is Minu at AngloLink. In today's lesson, we're going to look at all the uses of the present simple and present continuous tenses. A PDF of this lesson is available for you to download in the description box. Now let's start by looking at how we use I do and I'm doing when we're talking about present events. We use present simple, that is I do, he does, etc., for facts and habits. For example, I work in a software firm, that's a fact. Or we don't live in a big town, that's also a fact. A habit can be he plays golf every Saturday. Or she doesn't often take the train. So what about present continuous? That is, I am doing, he is doing, etc. We use the present continuous tense for actions in progress. For example, I'm currently working from home. Or he's playing golf now. Now make sure that you don't use the present continuous tense with state verbs. You can only use continuous tenses with action verbs. For example, think about the verb think. Think has two meanings. One is to reflect. What are you thinking about? You can say that in the present continuous tense. What are you thinking about at the moment? But think also means to have an opinion. So you cannot use that in the continuous form. You can't say, what are you thinking of this idea? You have to use it only in the simple form. What do you think of this idea? Right, let's look at how we use these two tenses for future events, starting with the present continuous tense. We use the present continuous tense to talk about arrangements in the future. For example, he is playing in a golf tournament next Saturday. Or she is taking the train to London tomorrow. So when do we use the present simple? We use the present simple to speak about scheduled events. For example, the tournament starts at 9 a.m. on Saturday. Or the train leaves at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Okay, let's put these two usages together in a dialogue. So for the present and the future. So the dialogue can go like this. Do you have a second now? No, sorry, I'm packing my bags. Can I see you this evening then? No, I'm catching the train to St. Andrews this evening. Oh, are you taking part in the golf tournament? Of course, I take part every year. Good luck. What time does the train leave? It leaves at 6. Right, that's it for using these two tenses for present and future events. Now, strangely, sometimes you will hear them used for past events. This is usually when we want to tell a story, a compelling story, and the present tense here is called the narrative present, sometimes also called the historic present. We use the present tense for a past event to bring the story, this past story, to life. You may have noticed this in jokes. For example, sometimes you hear a man goes into a bar and asks for a cold beer instead of a man went into a bar and asked for a cold beer. Now make sure you don't use the narrative present for ordinary everyday events. This is only appropriate when you want to speak about an extraordinary event or a very interesting event. You can set the scene in the past, you can start your first sentence in the past tense, and then switch to the present tense, and then stay in the present. Right, let's look at an example. For example, here is a story in the past, and usually we use past simple and past continuous to tell such stories. Let me read it out for you. The other day, I went for a walk in the park. I was walking along the lake when I heard a loud splash behind me. I turned around and saw this man in the lake. He had all his clothes on and he was swimming towards the middle of the lake. So I shouted, "Are you okay?" He didn't answer. But then I noticed something else in the lake, a dog, and it seemed to be in trouble. Now we can make this story a lot more interesting. We can bring it to life by changing all the past tenses into present tenses. As you can imagine, past simple changes to present simple and past continuous changes to present continuous. So now let me read it to you again, this time in the present. So we start again in the past, the first sentence, and then we switch to the present tenses. The other day I went for a walk in the park. So I'm walking along the lake when I hear a loud splash behind me. I turn around and see this man in the lake. He has all his clothes on and he is swimming towards the middle of the lake. So I shout, "Are you okay?" He doesn't answer, but then I notice something else in the lake, a dog, and it seems to be in trouble. So in summary, the present simple and present continuous tenses are used 90% of the time to speak about present events. But make sure that you distinguish between facts and habits, present simple, and actions in progress, present continuous. You can check the lesson above for more examples and common mistakes to do with this very common usage. 9% of the time we use these two tenses for future events. Present continuous for arrangements in the future, and present simple for scheduled events. And only 1% of the time do we use the present tenses to speak about a past event in order to bring a past story to life. Of course, you need to be aware of this usage, but you don't need to necessarily use it yourself. If you're telling a story in the past, it's perfectly fine to use past simple and past continuous tenses. Well, that's the end of this lesson. You will find all my lessons on English tenses in this playlist. Please remember to check out my complete online course at anglolink.com. And of course, please subscribe and allow notifications to know when my next lesson is available. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you soon in my next lesson. Goodbye for now.